this week I'm going to reflect on a citizenship day that I ran for Year 7s. Every year the whole of Year 7 attend a trip to the Conway Visitor Centre in Anglesey. Not all pupils can attend, and this year there was about 25 pupils that couldn't go to the Menai trip, and therefore they were placed on a citizenship day with myself. The theme for the day was democracy and justice. My initial thoughts were of concern, as I was only given 3 days notice of this, and I wondered whether the day was too long and it was too early on in my teaching career to be taking one group of children for an entire day. And also, I've never ran a citizenship day before. I worried about the classroom management and also the fact that the pastoral team would also be at the Menai Conway Visitor Centre, and therefore I wondered what the school behaviour policy would be like on that day in school, and whether I would be able to cope with the behaviour management of the children. So what did I do? The day was split into 4 sessions lasting 1 hour and 15 minutes, and I planned 4 activities to keep the pupils interested and stimulated. I planned some transition work for them based on a package that I have actually ran with last year's Year 7. And it is to help them with their transition from Year 6 to 7, so I thought that would be beneficial for them to look at some craft work and also some forum theatre, which I did think was a bit ambitious, but I thought if we were together for the whole of the day it could possibly work, and I wanted to challenge the pupils and I wanted to challenge myself, so I thought I'm just going to have a go at it. The pace of the day felt right, and the pupils looked as if they were engaged and as if they were having fun, as well as learning. I'm going to give you a quote from George Eliot, aka Mary Ann Evans, when she was asked, "Are you an optimist or a pessimist?" And she replied, "Neither. I am a meliorist." That's how you say it. An ameliorist is someone who believes that the world may be made better by our human effort. And I thought that would tie in with the democracy and the justice. And although these are only Year 7 children, they're still quite young, I thought that would be a really good basis for them to begin a citizenship day on. The strategies that I adapted were a firm classroom management. We started the day as we meant to go on. I set the boundaries for the pupils and agreed a set of rules with them. So it was almost like a mutual agreement between them and us. This is what I expected of them, and this is what they expected of me, because we were to be together for the whole of the day. I did have a strategy for persistent poor behaviour. I offered to give them 3 warnings and then send them to a green room, which I had privately organised with an English teacher, because the normal school behaviour policy did apply for that day, but not in the normal working day of the school. But I arranged somewhere for children to go if they persistently behaved poorly. So I knew I had that at the back of my mind to pull out of the bag if there were persistent pupils who behaved poorly. I rewarded them with praise and encouragement, and I have to admit, sweets. And that really did work, because it was a little reward for them. These poor kids weren't going on the trip to Menai for whatever reason. There was some there with injured limbs, and some kids' parents they just can't afford it. So I just bought some sweets in for them just to give them a little reward when they did produce really good work. What did work was the firm classroom management, because on the whole the class behaved really well, and they did comment to me that they knew where they were with me, and they knew what was expected from me, and they knew what would happen if they didn't behave well. I think what I could have done better would be to take a firmer stance with just a couple of the boys who weren't really badly behaved. It was more kind of low-level disruption, talking and giggling. And I think maybe on reflection, if I'd have sent one of them to the green room for just maybe one session and then had him back, I think that would have sent a firm message out to the other giggly boys, and I wouldn't have had that problem. I needed to adapt because we were in the drama studio, which is just next door to the hall, where we found out halfway through, I think session 2, that the music people were there playing incredibly loud rap music at one point. And at that point I was planning a visualisation where the children sit down and I talk to them, put some nice tinkly music on, but it was just impossible to take the pupils on the visualisation because of the noise. So therefore we just went straight into the group discussion about the transition, and we spent a bit longer on the craft, and it didn't ruin the whole session at all. I successfully challenged pupils, and I took a bit of a risk with the forum theatre. We had 2 of the 4 groups that worked particularly successfully. We spent one session doing some still images and some short improvisations over an issue that the group had decided amongst themselves was unfair or unjust, and I asked them to make a small piece of theatre around that issue, and then the last hour we ran the forum theatre with the 4 groups, and the audience, the spectators, stopped the theatre and made suggestions, which the pupils, the actors, did, and in 2 out of the 4 groups successfully solved the issue of unfairness, and it was just a joy to watch. And when we discussed it afterwards, the pupils did understand where the theatre had to be stopped and where the issue was that needed to be resolved, and where the behaviour needed to change from the characters that they had created. So that was a huge success, and I was so proud of them, because they're only year 7 and they've never done forum theatre, never heard of Augustus Boal before. So for them to successfully pull off some forum theatre was a real treat and a great end to the day. I'm just going to end with a quote from Carol Miller and Juliana Saxton, who work at the University of Victoria in Canada, and they say, "It is the language of reflection that deepens our knowledge of who we are in relation to others in a community of learners." And I thought that quote was very apt to the forum theatre that I ran with the year 7s, based upon this theme of democracy and justice, and also for the year 7s to understand that they can play a part in the community and in the decisions that are made if they choose to. And I hope by running this session that they realise that they have a voice and that they can use it and that they can change the world if they want to.